Scotland's outgoing First Minister has told Sky News she has not heard whether the police want to interview her or her husband as part of a long-running probe into SNP finances. Police Scotland and the Crown Office are investigating how £600,000 raised by the SNP for independence campaigning has been spent. In one of her last interviews, Ms Sturgeon also warned the three candidates fighting to replace her not to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Just before I move on, there's also an ongoing police investigation into use of funds. We wouldn't expect you to comment on that, but there's a suggestion you and your husband will be interviewed. Have you heard anything on that?
No, but I am not going to comment on... I wouldn't comment on any ongoing police investigation, and I'm not going to comment on this one.
So you haven't heard, but it must have been put pressure on you and your husband. Hand on heart, did this play any part in your departure and your decision?
No. We're going through what I would describe as necessary growing pains. It is difficult, but I think we'll come out of it stronger. And perhaps the tricky thing, given we are undefeated electorally, still by some distance, Scotland's biggest political party, it's to get the balance right between the renewal, change, refresh that is necessary. I wouldn't be standing down if I didn't think that was necessary after 16 years in government, but also protecting the ingredients of our phenomenal electoral success, not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I'm not suggesting that this is not a difficult process, and at times it has been a less than edifying process.
And Beth joins us now. And Beth, how would you characterise the mood of Nicola Sturgeon? Bullish?
Well, Jane, I mean, it is an extraordinary time for her in that she has been First Minister for nearly a decade. Next week, she bows out. This week, she's got her final First Minister's questions, her final Cabinet appearance today, her final big public speech. And she said to me it was weird, the emotions that she is going through. But in terms of how she is feeling, she wouldn't be drawn on three candidates, who she was backing, what she thought of the race. But I think within all of that interview, there were lots of warning shots from her, saying things like, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Remember that we have built huge electoral success and focus on that. She also admitted that it would have been more normal for a leader to bow out after a general election and not now. Why was she doing it now? She said simply that in her heart of hearts, she knew she didn't have in her what it took to go on. I asked her about that police probe, her husband quitting as the chief executive of the SNP this weekend over revelations that the party had lied to the press about membership numbers. I asked her whether that police probe had made a dent in her decision to stand down. Now she insisted it wasn't. But really, Jane, it was an interview of a leader, I would say, that has thought carefully about what she did. If she has got regrets about leaving, given the mess we're now seeing in the SNP leadership debate, with candidates taking shots at each other, questioning the legitimacy of the process, trashing her own record in government, Nicola Sturgeon was trying to put on a front of, I don't regret it, it's time to go, a message to the candidates to say focus on the electoral success of the SNP, a view from her that with 18 months to go, the party could still do well at the next election. And also an admission from her that when you are front and centre for that amount of time, you kind of crowd out everyone else. And her hope certainly is that her successor will be able to grow in stature. But a very revealing interview. She talked quite personally about her decisions to stand down. She talked about some of her missteps too. I asked her about the gender recognition bill and the difficulties she got into over that. I asked her about the case of Isla Bryson, the rapist that was sent to an all-female prison before being removed and sent to a male prison, and she got herself in quite difficulties over that. I also asked her about J.K. Rowling, who had described Nicola Sturgeon as a destroyer of women's rights, and she talked to me about being a female leader and being a feminist. A fascinating interview, I have to say, and it is one of her final big interviews before she stands down from office. The new SNP leader will be chosen on the 27th of March, that's next Monday. Then they will be voted in, presumably in Holyrood on Tuesday, and on Wednesday morning Nicola Sturgeon will wake up no longer the leader of the SNP and no longer Scotland's First Minister.